It's your friendly neighborhood Spider Dan. Dendro is coming soon, and I could not be more hyped. We just got a trailer for Dendro as a whole, so I'm gonna go through it, and I'm gonna point out the most interesting things that I noticed. So let's just dive right on in. We're gonna start right around 17 seconds here, because the first thing they say in the trailer, I think is important to look at. The Dendro element is the last piece of the puzzle in Genshin Impact's 7 element system. And so this could just be as simple as them saying Dendro is the seventh element and like the last piece of that 7 element puzzle. But I'm kind of hoping they meant a little more by that. Maybe that the new reactions it's going to bring will really tie all the previous elements together better and hopefully make bigger spots for some of the weaker elements like Electro and Geo. Okay, and then right here we intend to design it in a more systematic way. So does he mean more systematic way than the other elements? And if that is the case, then does that mean that Dendro's reactions are much more nuanced than Hydro's and Pyro's? Because right now with Hydro and Pyro, it's obviously just double the damage, and that's been the strategy that has had the reins to the meta of Genshin for almost 2 years now. It would be really nice to see all the elements coexisting, basically, if each one had a specific role to play, rather than what it is right now, which is just Hydro and Pyro standing at the top. Which isn't to say that there aren't any standout characters like Raiden and Zhongli and a bunch of others, but it would still be nice to be able to use any character for harder content as long as you're using the right reaction, which might just be Dendro. We hope to design a system with a higher degree of synergy. So, let me see. I think he says one that was more interconnected and easier to understand. Right. The new reaction should be fairly simple but still very effective. It's just more interconnected and easier to understand, which I think is kind of a weird choice of words because it seems like they're almost opposites. The more you try to connect everything at the same time, the more convoluted and tangled all the ideas become, and so it would become a lot less easier to understand. Uh, I guess we'll just have to wait and see, but I'm I'm personally gonna trust that whichever way they decide to go with Dendro, it should be very interesting at least, and I'm hoping that it'll shake up the meta quite a bit, but I guess we'll see. Alright, just a quick intermission to remind you all to drink some water to stay hydrated. Also consider subscribing. It makes me quite the happy boy seeing my sub count go up. 3 keywords: catalysis, wisdom, and life. So, wisdom sounds like Dendro might be applying buffs to teammates. Life to me sounds like obviously just like HP and healing. That would be a little, I don't know if that would be stepping on Hydra's feet too much. Um, but the interesting one to me is catalysis, which is quite a bit different from these two because a simpler way to put it is it just means change basically. So maybe Dendro will react with current elements to change them to make them maybe stronger or at least somewhat different from what we've seen so far. Okay, so it seems like Bloom seems to create this dendro fruit, I guess you could call it. And I feel like since they say it's a recovery or a combination of the recovery aspect of Hydro and the catalysis concept, I feel like this is basically like a Geo shard, but instead of giving you a shield, it probably heals you. It could also probably or maybe give you a buff, but I would I would bet it just heals you for I don't know. I don't know how they would do that. Maybe it depends on the amount of damage you do, uh, the more you heal. Or maybe it's a flat like 5 or 10% of your current character's HP. So now we've got Catalyze, and it looks like from what we saw here, it looks like just, I mean, to me at least, it looks like a pure damage. Also, actually, I just realized you can see Razor pick up this fruit here, and I don't know, it didn't really look like he got healed, but I'm not sure. But focusing on Catalyze, he attacks, and then like half a second later, that Dendro thing comes out and hits. And it says, they say it originates from the collision between the energy aspect of Electro and the wisdom concept. So I'm wondering, because here they say it's a combination. Bloom is a combination, but catalyzes a collision. So that sounds more damaging, I guess. I mean, it might also apply a buff or a debuff when it hits, but we probably won't know until the release of Dendro. So I'm I'm kind of hoping that it's just something like vaporize or melt, because if the damage of the Electro or the Dendro is doubled in this reaction, um, then Electro and Dendro could instantly start competing in the meta with Hydro and Pyro, which would be really cool. And obviously we might not have a bunch of Dendro characters super early, but I think by the time we get through all of Sumeru, if that is the case where this is just a simple reaction that doubles the damage, we might see some really interesting teams taking over the top of Spiral Abyss runs. So here they say that the, there's 3 reaction characteristics of Dendro, which is Burning, Bloom, and Catalyze, which honestly it makes it seem like Cryo won't have any reaction with Dendro, and that Geo won't have any new reactions, which would make me pretty sad. It would mean that putting a Dendro and a Cryo character on the same team might just be completely useless. And with Geo, it would mean that it stays as a completely isolated element that none of the other elements can really, like, truly react with. Meaning it would stay in a place where mono Geo teams are the only realistic way to use Geo effectively. Overall, my main concern is just that there might not be a Cryo Dendro reaction, and I feel like that's really, really not the direction the game should head in. Uh, it's why I dislike Geo so much, just because there's no true reactions. With Swirl with a Nemo, I think that it's a lot better than Geo. Again, my big concern is just that Cryo might just be left to rot when Dendro comes out. Because, I mean, if Dendro's really just going for Hydro, Pyro, and Electro, and assuming that Anemo can swirl it the same as the 4 of these, then Cryo just seems like it will be so isolated. Frozen has never been the greatest. It's really good in the tower defense game modes. But in Spiral Abyss where there's a time limit, it's just not viable. which is unfortunate. Shatter damage, in my opinion, should be upped by like tenfold, but that might be completely insane. Either way, I'm just hoping that they do something about Cryo, because if it really is that Cryo can't react with Dendro at all, I think that would be not very good for the future of the game. Just putting it as simply as possible. But that's about all. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed, remember to subscribe, leave a like, and other than that, I hope to see you in my next video.